Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at conditionals and loops. When we talk about conditionals, we just mean decision making. So we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it conditionals and loops. And we're going to use the .py extension as always. So as I said, conditionals are used for decision making. That means if a certain condition is true, we want to run a certain piece of code. And if it's not true, we want to run another piece of code. So a simple example would be if we had age to be equal to 19, we could use one of the most simplest conditionals, which is the if statement. So we're going to use that. We're going to say if age is greater than 20, we want to print you are older than 20. So what's going to happen here is the if statement is going to check the age variable, which is currently 19, which is not greater than 20. So when we run this code, it should not print anything. So we can run it. As you can see, nothing gets printed out. That is because the condition in the if statement, which is age is greater than 20, is not true. So let's say we make age equal to 23. And we're going to save our file. We're going to run it. And as you can see, now it says you are older than 20. So this is how the if statement works. Now, if, for example, the condition in the if statement doesn't work, we can have an else statement, which is going to be if whatever the if condition is not true, run this piece of code. So if we put our age back to 19, we can have an else statement, which is going to print you are younger than 20. So if we now save the file and run it, we can see that it prints out you are younger than 20. So this is the basics of conditionals. Next, we're going to be looking at loops. We use loops when we want to repeat a certain piece of code multiple times. So there are two types of loops in Python. There's a for loop and a while loop. First, we're going to be looking at a while loop. So we're going to have a number. We're going to say, let's call it num, and we're going to set it equal to 0. And we're going to look at while loop. So we're going to have the while keyword followed by a condition. So as long as this condition is true, whatever is in the while loop is going to continue to run. So we're going to have the condition while num is less than 10. What we want to do is print num. If we ran this code, since num is 0, which is always going to be less than 10, we would run into an infinite loop. So that means the loop would never end. So in order to avoid that, we're going to increase num each time by 1. So now if we run the code, we can see that our code prints out the numbers from 0 to 9. So that is how a while loop works. Another type of loop is a for loop. So in order to have the same output using a for loop, we're going to have the following piece of code. We're going to have the for keyword, and we're going to have a name of a temporary variable which we're only going to be using inside the for loop. Let's call it num. So we're going to say for num in range. Range is another function that we haven't looked at. It's just a range of numbers in this case. So it's going to be if we say for num in range 10, so it means num is going to be in the range starting from 0 up to 10, but not including 10, which we'll see when we run the code. So using this syntax, we're going to print num. As you can see, we don't have to increase num each time when we're using for loops. That is because the range function does that for us. So now we can save the file and we could run it. And as you can see, it again prints from 0 to 9. Now what we're going to do is, using what we've looked at, conditionals and loops, we're going to write a small program, a small guessing game. So we're going to have a comment that says guessing game. And we're going to what we're going to do first is have our the number our user has to guess. So we can call that the secret number. And for now, we're going to just set it equal to 4. So what we need to do is first we need to take the input from the user. We're going to store it in a variable called guess, and we're going to have input, and we're going to prompt them to enter your guess. Here, if you remember, we said that input by default returns a string, but in this case, since our secret number is a integer, we want our guess to also be an integer. So we saw an example of casting a variable from a string to an integer. We can also do the same thing to our input prompt. So we could cast it to an integer. That means whatever the user guesses is going to be converted into an integer. Now we're going to start our while loop, which is going to run as long as our user's guess is not equal to our secret number. So we're going to have a while, and the condition is going to be guess is not equals to, the symbol for not equals to in Python is an exclamation mark followed by an equal sign, secret number. So this loop is going to run as long as our user has not got the number. So we want to give our user a certain hint each time. So we're going to compare the guess and the secret number, and we're going to tell them if it's too high or too low. So to do that, we're going to use the other concept we just saw, which is conditionals. So we're going to have an if statement, which is going to see if guess is less than secret number. That means they guess too low, so we're going to tell them that their guess is too low. Else, that means if their guess is greater than our secret number, we are going to use the else statement for that. We're going to print out guess is too high. So this is going to tell them whether their guess is too low or too high. So now what we're going to do is write a piece of code outside the while loop, and I'm going to explain how it's going to run. So outside the while loop, we're going to print out congratulations, you have won. So why have I put this outside the while loop? So in this case, the while loop is going to run as long as the guess is not equal to the secret number. That means this whole piece of code will only run if guess is not equal to secret number. So if the guess is equal to secret number, our program is going to skip this whole while loop, and it's going to go to the bottom statement, which is congratulations, you have won. So that means if guess is equal to secret number, that means the user has won, and it's going to skip the while loop, and it's going to go to the final print statement. Now let's see if everything works correctly. So we're going to save our file, and this time we're going to run it from the terminal using Python 3 conditionals _loops.py. It's asking us to enter our guess. Let's say we enter 1. Our loop seems to be going infinitely. That means there's something wrong with our while loop. So when you've accidentally got into an infinite loop and you want the terminal to stop, you're going to use the shortcut Control+C. I believe it's Command+C for Mac users. So using the Control+C, we can break the loop, and now we can go back to our code and see what is causing our loop to go infinitely. The problem here is that we are not repeatedly asking the user to enter a guess. Here, since our guess variable is outside the while loop, it's only going to ask the user to enter a guess once, but we want to ask the user each time. So we're going to copy this line and we're going to put it on the top of our while loop. Now we're going to save our file again and we're going to run it using Python 3, followed by the name, and we're going to press enter. Okay, it asks us to enter our guess again. We're going to put in 1. It asks us to enter our guess again. This is not right because we need our program to tell us if our guess is too low or too high. So again, we're going to use the Control-C command to end our program, and we are going to go back to our code. This is happening because we are taking the guess. So we entered 1 here, and the while loop checks if 1 is not equal to secret number, then it asks us to guess again. So the problem here is that we need to move this guess variable to the bottom of our while loop. So the guess we entered is going to get compared to the secret number as soon as we enter the while loop. So we need to cut this line and put it at the bottom of our while loop. So again, for the third time, we're going to save our file and we're going to see if it works. It says enter your guess. We're going to enter 1. So it works now. It says guess is too low. So we're going to enter a number like 7. It says guess is too high. That means it's less than 7. We're going to put in 5. It says guess is too high again. So we're going to put in 3. It says guess too low. So the only number logically left is 4. So we're going to guess 4. And as you can see, it says, congratulations, you have won. We faced a little bit of inconvenience, but we ended up fixing the code. So this is a small guessing game using conditionals and loops. And this is all you need to know about the basics of conditionals and loops. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily programming videos.